Hi, welcome back to the Launch Point Leader Podcast. My name is Lori, and you might notice we have a little bit different of a setup this week going on. We are so excited to welcome a business owner in to talk about it for our new series we're calling our Launch Points Sessions. So we are going to be getting to interview some business owners and entrepreneurs all in different phases of their journey and just get to hear about them, what has launched them through their career, what brought them to the point of being an entrepreneur, and kind of just get to hear more about their journey. And so we're so excited to have Katie on the podcast today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited. She is with Spearhead Consulting Group, and we're so excited to have her and just get to hear about her journey. How are you today?
Oh my gosh, wonderful. Thank
Good.
you.
So glad to have you. So I really just want to start off getting to hear more about your background and kind of what's brought you to the idea of even starting your own business, becoming an entrepreneurship point. So when you look back at your life and your journey, what was your first big launch point that kind of shaped your career path that you're on today?
Yeah, well, my background is in tech. So the last 14 years, I was an IT consultant. And as you might imagine, that was a very heavily male-dominated field.
Sure.
And I remember just looking around and being like, there's not that many women here. And, you know, it was definitely, you were encouraged to fit within a specific mold.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't feel, it was like a pair of pants, right? That fits, but not quite right. They'll pass, but they don't make you feel your best.
In the back of your mind, you're like, I'll do something different with these pair one day. I'll get a new pair, but they're just comfortable. They're here.
They'll pass, right? It was passable. Mm-hmm. But I also got saved in 2018, and that was a huge turning point in my life. And I just asked God to let me do something big for the kingdom. And he did, and I was like, oh, whoa, that's way bigger than I was expecting. And I always wanted to help people. I just never really knew how. I never really knew. And then it all kind of clicked in 2020. Times were hard during that time. Lots of people.
Why? What do you think was
can't
happening?
Can't imagine. The pandemic was going on. Lots of people out of work and really different life situations and kind of thrown into weird, unique situations.
Absolutely.
So I started this business in 2020 really just to help out because a lot of people were out of work, were trying to figure out what they wanted to do. And I saw that around me and thought, I think this is where I can help.
Yeah.
So that's when I started my business. I was still working full time. For 4 years, I did that.
Wow.
So I was just working nights and weekends with solopreneurs and entrepreneurs who wanted to do their own thing, specifically women.
Yeah.
And then in 2024, earlier this year, April, the day after Easter, which was also April Fool's Day, which also felt very fitting for a step like this, I went full time in my business. And it's been a wild, wonderful, amazing ride ever since.
Yeah. What do you think was the moment that made you go, okay, it's time to step away from full-time role, and a lot of security that comes with that? You know, there's so many people, and I think you're a great expert that talks about this, the amount of people that have an idea that never act on it.
Yeah.
What made you not only start acting on it, but then say, hey, I'm going to fully invest in this full send. Here we go.
Right. Well, you're right. So 92%, it's 92%.
I knew you'd had the statistic. That's why I asked.
92% of people that have a business idea never do anything about it, which is crazy to me. So, yeah, I was more than happy and willing to be in that 8% that don't myself, because it's scary. It's a huge step.
Yeah.
And I just finally got to a point where it was, God was like, you're either doing this or I'm going to give it to someone else. If I'm really vulnerable and honest, that's where it came down to, because it was very hard to walk away from a consistent paycheck. It was hard to walk away from stability. And even though it wasn't the best fitting pair of pants, it's
still
known
pants.
And it's familiar, right? And you know what you're getting with it. And so it really got down to the point where I could just feel it in my bones. It was time, or my mission was going to be passed to someone else.
Wow. That's such a cool perspective and way to look at it, is saying this isn't something that is just happening to me. Like, you took full authority and were saying, hey, this is a responsibility that someone out there is going to fulfill this need. I've seen a need. I can see that I can do it through my nights and weekends that I'm giving, but I know that this is a niche that I can truly fill, and it's time to take full ownership of that. I think is a really interesting thought there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
it's brave.
Thank you. And, it was all for a purpose, because a lot of the clients that I work with, a lot of the people that I see are dealing with the same kinds of issues.
Yeah.
They are lots of imposter syndrome, lots of, you know how it is. Just there are a lot of challenges when it comes to starting your own business. And then taking it full time is another kind of level up to, like they say, more money, more problems, more business, more problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's, but my whole mission is to make that process a little bit easier, a little more smoother, and to kind of take away some of the guesswork too. And so that's what I want women to know, is that there is a process. It's not as hard and scary as you think.
Right.
There are a lot of pieces of information that you need to know. Yes. But, one step at a time, and there are steps. There's a path to follow.
Yeah.
It's not just like drinking from a fire hose all the time, which I know a lot of us feel, and I certainly felt.
Yeah, it's hard to even see the path ahead of you, much less know the first step to take a lot of times. So helping empower women, and that is so important, I think, so valuable in what you're doing.
And it can be lonely too when you're an entrepreneur and you're a solopreneur and you're a one-person show, and there isn't that other person to bounce ideas off of. It's hard. It's hard when you don't have someone to talk those things out with, who's in it with you. You kind of have to make those decisions in a vacuum as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are really good. And I think those are important challenges a lot of people face. But as you look back at your own journey, maybe in the transition from working part-time at this company to go and making it full-time your role, what do you think are some of the biggest obstacles you faced, and how'd you work through those?
Well, I touched on the imposter syndrome.
Right.
That was a big one. Just getting out of my own way for the longest time was really hard. There's lots of things that I dealt with that my clients also deal with when it comes to even accepting money for the work that you're doing, and having to go and pitch yourself and promote yourself to people, particularly for service-based businesses. When there's not a tangible product you're selling, you're the product, right? Your service is the product. So that's another layer of having to sell yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is uncomfortable. And I just really had to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable and living outside of my comfort zone. Because when I first started, everything I was doing was outside of my comfort zone. Yeah. So just time really was the best way to deal with that, as well as figuring out what the tactical pieces are, the who, what, when, where, why of starting a business, and being able to translate that into a process that is relatively the same for anyone in their first 0 to 2 years when they're first starting out. So, I mean, I dealt with a lot of like emotional stuff, getting out of my own way, and speaking. Public speaking is not everyone's fave. It wasn't mine. Yeah,
it's so scary for a lot of people. It can be really challenging, and can be an obstacle for people. I know people that have great ideas and great motivation, and they let that fear kind of hold them back. So it sounds like something you've had to work through. How did you push through that in order to do that in scenarios? Obviously, you can build your business around a scenario where that's not vital, but it still comes up.
Absolutely. And you have to be able to speak at some point, whether it's just one-on-one with someone that you're hoping to work with, or even if you are in front of a group, at some point it's going to come up.
Yeah. Can't avoid it.
But there's no magic pill, I'll tell you. It's just doing it, forcing yourself to do it, and forcing yourself. I wish I had a better answer, but
no, I think that's what it is though. And I think it's giving yourself permission to be a little bad at it at first is a huge part of it too. And
doing it terrified.
Wanting to crawl
out of your skin.
I also think something people forget about is get yourself reward for afterwards, like something you're going to do. But it's just those little steps. And I think that's why working with someone like you can be really helpful, because they help prep you for those situations and be prepared. And you're, as someone that's gone through it as well, you're on the other side of it. And so as you think about, you've worked through some of those initial bumps along the road, you've pushed past, you've asked people to buy your services, you've got people using them, you're continuing to grow and expand. What do you think is going to be, what do you sense your next launch point, like a cornerstone of your business as you grow, is going to be?
Really being able to expand my service offering in the form of an app. That's my big project for next year. One of my other big passions is leveraging the tech background that I do have in order to develop a system and tool for female solopreneurs to be able to hit their goals faster with more data and more strategy than ever before, hopefully. So I've developed a tool now. It's called Solopreneur Navigator. It gives you that executive view that you need when you're the decision maker in your business, as well as the day-to-day tasks that you should be doing as also the person who's doing the tasks in your business. Because when you're the CEO that stands for chief everything officer in your business, because you're a one-person show, you need both. And being able to get from one to the other quickly is really important. So I want to be able to take that and turn that into a fully blown app. That's my big plan for next year. So that's what's next on the horizon.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, you actually have helped me set this up for my business at Launchpoint as we're planning our 2025. I've used this tool, and even just to think about having it as an app and just being able to see more data. It's something about charts and graphs, right?
Everybody,
we love
a
to
good
see
dashboard.
them. They're helpful. But as you are doing everything, anything you can automate and scale and see all of your goals and things in one place like that is so useful. I think that's awesome. And I think it's cool to be able to hear about this before it goes really big and before it grows and see it at the beginning, because I know it's going to grow so well.
Thank you.
And the growth periods, I think, through business, they grow and change over time. And so it's cool to see what this time a year ago, you weren't even doing this full time.
No.
Growth looks totally different. And so getting to hear about those moments are really important. So I think looking back, maybe over just the past year, but I think the past 4 years as you've been on this journey, what would you consider the most rewarding part? We talk about the struggles and the hard things, but what do you think's been the greatest joy?
Hands down, no questions asked.
Yeah.
It's getting to see transformation with the women that I'm working with.
Yeah.
And the whole part of this journey is defining success for them as an individual, getting to use their gifts and talents in a unique way.
Yeah.
That allows other people to benefit from who they are as an individual is why I do what I do, as well as seeing what success means to each of them, being able to see them hit that success, whether that's a shift in mindset, not being scared of public speaking anymore, or hitting those tangible business goals. One of my clients was on a local Nashville news channel recently within the last few months. And she's brand new to her business. She just started 2 or 3 months ago. And I'm so proud of her and so excited for that journey for her, because she is killing it. And just being able to see that is why I wake up in the morning, gets me out of bed.
And I think that's good. And what I loved about that too is not only, of course, the answer, because I think it's great that you have that passion, but how quickly it came to you. You didn't have to think about it. It's so intrinsic in what you're doing in the day to day. And I think that's such a great message to entrepreneurs is have your why that ready, have your joy, have what turns back, because that's what's going to make the stumbling blocks. And when challenges come up, that's what's going to make you push through and make it all worth it. It's what's going to make you get up and speak on that stage, because because you're doing that, it's making a difference. It's what's going to make you tell your clients your price, because I remember the first time I sent my pricing to somebody, mentally I'd already said they're not going to say yes, and they did. You build things up so much in your head, and I think that's kind of what you've shared throughout your journey and kind of what's been the mark for you. So I appreciate you sharing that and having just that cool mission behind that. So I want to know, you've talked about, of course, your tool that you're hoping to launch into an app next year, but beyond that, where do you see your business? Let's go longer term, in the next 5 years or so.
5 years. Yeah. I want to grow the coaching aspect of my business, because I would love to see as many women as possible who have a unique gift, which everyone has gifts, right? Talents, passions. If turning that into a business is something that it resonates with them and that they would like to do, I want to help as many women as possible do that and reach their dreams and reach their own version of success. I want to expand with the app. That's in development. So that'll be, maybe this time next year, we'll be able to talk more about that and see it and see what it looks like. But I think that'll be a huge next step for the business. And then just kind of seeing where we go from there. I mean, I would ultimately love to be able to offer more software solutions, leverage the tech background.
Right. You've got the experience and knowledge.
To see more strategy and data-driven options available for women solopreneurs, because there are a lot of things out there for individuals, and there's a lot of things out there for teams and small businesses, but there's not a lot out there for solopreneurs. One person shows when it comes to goal planning, project management, task alignment, vision casting, all of that stuff. So I would love to be able to provide a one-stop shop for the female solopreneur to get going and hit the ground running as quickly as possible and reach those goals as soon as they can.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that's awesome. And I can't wait to play a part of the journey and see it all happen for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Katie, thank you so much for sharing just a little about your story. Your passion, your heart really comes through, I think, in everything you do, but of course today. And I just want to give you a chance to share with the people, where can they find you? How can they book your services? Anything you'd like to share with them?
Yeah, well, I would love for them to check out my website. It's Spearhead, SPEARHEADCG.com. You can find me there. Everything as far as working with me one-on-one or as a group is on there.
Yeah.
I'm also on Instagram if you are looking for a little chuckle. It's at Spearhead Consulting Group. You'll find me there. And yeah, I would just love to chat with anybody that is looking at setting and reaching some big goals for themselves next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate having Katie on and just getting to hear from her experience. If you would like to hear more, we're going to be having more business owners on. You can always look at our podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, wherever you're listening to this one. And then we also accept letters from leaders that just want to hear, want to share about a situation they're going through, and we give some insight onto that. You can always reach out to us there on our website or at advice@launchpointleader.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.